Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my week number 7 quarterback start or sit decisions for fantasy football in 2021. Inside today's video, we're going to be going in depth into every single matchup from Thursday Night Football all the way until Monday Night Football, and I'll be telling you guys whether I believe you should start or sit the quarterbacks in every single matchup. But before we can get on into things, I would like to ask, if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 fantasy football championship. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure to hit that like button down below to help boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. I would also like to ask, if you are on Twitter and would like to follow me on there, to please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 7 quarterback start or sit decisions. Of note, there are multiple teams on bye this week. We got the Buffalo Bills, the Dallas Cowboys, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the LA Chargers, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So there are less games this week to be discussing, which does move some quarterbacks that would normally be sits in my rankings up to the starting category because of how many teams are on bye and how many notable quarterbacks are on bye on the week. So we move to Thursday Night Football, the Denver Broncos at the Cleveland Browns, and the Cleveland Browns right now are completely ravaged by injury. They are likely going to be missing Odell Beckham Jr. tonight. Now, that is not 100% set in stone that he is going to be missing, but it seems more and more like he's not going to end up playing. Jarvis Landry is returning from injury, so that's great and all, but they don't have Baker Mayfield, they don't have 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, they don't have Kareem Hunt, so their whole rushing attack is down tremendous. Their quarterback is not starting in this game, but Nick, it's a revenge game for Case Keenum, and I love the revenge game narrative, but at the end of the day, there is no way that I'm going to be able to talk myself into starting Case Keenum in this game. I think he's going to play perfectly fine. I don't expect him to be a complete and utter dumpster fire, a bad situation for the Cleveland Browns going from Baker Mayfield to Case Keenum, especially because Baker Mayfield has clearly been dealing with injury ever since that game up against the Houston Texans with his left labrum, and it has impacted his playing. Now, has he been terrible? No, but he also wasn't the same Baker that he was early on in the season. I think Case Keenum will be fine in this spot, but he'll be fine for the Cleveland Browns team themselves, not so fine for fantasy football. There's definitely a big difference in being a good real-life NFL quarterback and being a great fantasy football quarterback. So even with all of the bye weeks this week, I'm sitting down Case Keenum. Teddy Bridgewater will be a start for me. The Cleveland Browns defense is relatively solid, but I think Teddy Two Gloves will be able to get it done in this game. He's not a guy that is atop the quarterback rankings. He would not be a guy inside of my top 5, my top 10, but he is a guy that I think you can feel very confident in starting this week up against the Cleveland Browns. I expect the Denver Broncos to look really solid in this matchup. Next up, we move to Sunday's slate, beginning with the Carolina Panthers at the New York Football Giants. Now, mono man Sam Darnold has been on a rocky road thus far this season. Well, really, he has been on an ascension. He was going up and up and up and up and up, and then he went straight back down into the deep depths of hell after having a bunch of amazing games in a row. Now, is he going to be continuing to stay down, down, down? I don't think so. I think he's going to have a bounce back game here up against the Giants. We just saw Matthew Stafford go to pound town up against the Giants defense. Now, I understand that there's a big difference between Matthew Stafford and mono man Sam Darnold, but at the end of the day, I expect Sam Darnold to get back on track to playing better like he was at the beginning of the season this week up against the Giants. For the Giants, I will be throwing out Daniel Jones, but again, with all of the injuries there, they're likely to be without Kenny Galladay, it appears, likely to be without Saquon Barkley, likely to be without Kadarius Toney. That obviously has a strong impact on the Giants offense, but at the end of the day, all it takes for Daniel Jones to be fantasy relevant is one of those crazy ass runs that he does basically every single game, and hopefully he just doesn't end up fumbling the ball or doesn't end up throwing a million interceptions like he did last week in that game up against the LA Rams, and he will be a start-worthy fantasy quarterback. Now again, it's just like with Teddy Bridgewater. He's not a guy that I'm getting down on my knees and giving the gawk 9,000 telling you guys that you must start Daniel Jones, but I do think if you are in a bit of a pickle this week, Daniel Jones is a perfectly serviceable start. Next game, we got the Jumbo Jets at the New England Patriots, and this is a game where there are no starting quarterbacks in this one that I feel comfortable at all playing in fantasy football. Zach Wilson has that one solid game this season. Besides that, he hasn't looked really good at all. Now, does that mean that I think Zach Wilson is going to be a complete and utter failure for the Jets organization? No, obviously not. We're just 7 games into the season thus far. Zach Wilson had a bye last week, so he's only played in 5 games in his NFL career. So I don't expect Zach Wilson to just be labeled as a bust just a couple of games into his NFL career, but going up against the New England Patriots, where rookie quarterbacks notoriously struggle up against Bill Belichick, why would you ever want to start Zach Wilson, who's struggling already up against a tough coach in Bill Belichick? There is no way I want to be starting Zach Wilson, and I know a lot of people, yet again, just like up against the Jets the first time, they are going to do some type of mental gymnastics into making themselves want to start Mac Jones. Now, do I think Mac Jones is a terrible quarterback? No, I actually think Mac Jones has looked like one of the better rookie quarterbacks in the NFL right now, if not the best. Maybe Trevor Lawrence could be, maybe you might think Justin Fields is. They all really haven't been playing all that amazing, and it would be pretty shocking to me if any of the quarterbacks won Offensive Rookie of the Year, because I think there are a bunch of players like Najee Harris or Jamar Chase that actually deserve that award who are not playing the quarterback position. So, Mac Jones, I think he could be solid in this game, but he's never going to throw 3-4 touchdowns because Bill Belichick basically wraps this guy in some fucking bubble wrap. What he's going to do is make sure that Mac Jones doesn't fuck up the game. It's basically that argument that I was talking about earlier with Case Keenum, how Case Keenum is a fine NFL quarterback. He could get it done and potentially beat the Denver Broncos tonight on Thursday Night Football. Same thing goes with Mac Jones. He should easily be able to beat the Jumbo Jets, but you're never going to see, I highly doubt you're going to see Case Keenum uncork fucking 3 touchdowns in that game, just like what I believe we are not going to be seeing here for the New England Patriots, because the Patriots are going to like to run the ball out up against the Jets. They're going to beat the Jets. I completely believe in that, but I highly doubt Mac Jones is going to throw enough touchdowns or run the ball enough, because he doesn't really run the ball at all, to warrant a fantasy start in this matchup, even with the great matchup realistically, because going up against the Jets is a wet dream matchup for any quarterback. Next up, we move to the Kansas City Chiefs at the Les Titans. The Titans coming off of a heater of a win, and the Chiefs won last week up against the Washington football team. Now, with all this bullshit going around with Patrick Mahomes and his brother and all this stuff, I'm surprised Patrick Mahomes hasn't just exiled his family Aaron Rodgers style and just said, fuck it, I'm done with this shit, because there is just so much negative PR attention that is going towards the Mahomes name that has nothing to do with Patrick Mahomes. Sure, Patrick Mahomes hasn't had this amazing season like he's had in years prior, but he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Maybe he's the best quarterback in the NFL. Sure, he's having a little bit of a down year, but all this outside noise about his family name is coming from his brother. I don't fucking understand this at all. I don't even know why it's such big news, but I assume it's pissing Mr. Patrick Mahomes off, because it would piss me off as well. So Pat Mahomes, let's hope you can, funnel out all of this negative chakra energy in your life and go ahead and go to Pound Town up against a bad Tennessee Titans defense. Ryan Tannehill will be listed as a starter this week, but he is also not a guy that's like a top 10 quarterback on the week. He's one of those bottom of the barrel starters that you're just going to roll out in this game, because the Kansas City Chiefs pass defense sucks complete and utter donkey cock, okay? The Chiefs defense looked great last week up against Taylor Heineke. Well, they didn't look great, but they didn't look terrible. Whereas in weeks prior, they were getting pounded by basically any quarterback in the NFL. So I think Ryan Tannehill should be fine in this game. Hopefully Julio Jones ends up playing. If he doesn't end up playing, at least he has A.J. Brown out there. A.J. Brown had a bounce-back game with it wasn't his flu game, because he didn't actually have the flu Michael Jordan style, but he did have food poisoning. So maybe now A.J. Brown being fully healthy will help out the Tennessee Titans even more. The biggest worry here, though, is that Derrick Henry just runs for 4 touchdowns in this game, and Ryan Tannehill doesn't score a single touchdown, which wouldn't surprise me at all. But at the end of the day, when we're this down bad with all of the buys, I'm fine starting Ryan Tannehill. Next up, we move to the Washington football team at the Green Bay Packers. If you guys have ended up enjoying this video thus far, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, as well as leaving a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. So back on into it, the Washington football team at the Green Bay Packers. In this one, you're firing up Mr. Aaron Jones, Mr. Discount Double Check, the owner of the Green Bay Bears, Aaron Rodgers, up against the Washington football team. The Washington football team defense just absolutely fucking sucks. Everyone thought the Washington football team defense was going to be amazing based upon how they looked last year. They looked great up against the Tampa Bay offense. They almost beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoffs. But at the end of the day, that was all just some smoke. It was all just some malarkey, because the Washington football team defense is getting bent over a table week in and week out. And with such a high-powered offense like the Green Bay Packers, you better believe Aaron Rodgers is going to have a big game. Taylor Heineke in a deep league, like fucking deep sea fishing type of deal. Maybe you want to start Taylor Heineke, but he didn't even play all that well last week up against the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Chiefs defense is very bad up against the pass. Whereas the Packers, they're not amazing against the pass, but they're not the Chiefs, so I don't really think you could trust Taylor Heineke this week. Very interesting to see all of this fucking news revolving around the NFL right now. Is Deshaun Watson going to get traded? Is Tua going to the Washington football team? What is happening? What is happening? I have no idea. As a Dolphins fan, I want Deshaun Watson, but at the same time, I also like Tua. I think Tua is a perfectly fine quarterback. We're going to be talking about Tua very soon. And as someone who is just an NFL fan, maybe you like a team that would not be involved in this trade. Let me know down below in the comments what you think about this. Do you think it's a wise move for the Dolphins to trade for Deshaun? Because I think it's cool and all. This guy's a top 5 quarterback, but at the end of the day, I still love Tua. So it's kind of a very... it's like tug of war in my brain between two quarterbacks that obviously Deshaun Watson's amazing. Tua could be amazing. So I don't know. It's just a very weird situation to think about. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but it is something interesting to talk about. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section about this Deshaun Watson rumor mill. Next up, we got the Falcons at the Miami Dolphins. What a transition that was. So in this game, Tua Tagovailoa, even if this trade ends up happening, I'm pretty sure Tua's still going to play on Sunday for the Dolphins, right? Because you would think this would be like the final fucking ride for Tua Tagovailoa if he gets traded. Now, again, I'm not 100% going to sit here and tell you that that's 100% true, right? Because it could be complete and utter bullshit that we're getting spewed here. So, Tua, I assume, is the starting quarterback of the Dolphins on Sunday. But Nick, Tua lost to the Jaguars. Tua fucking stinks, Nick. Yeah. He lost. He did lose to the Jaguars. I agree. But I don't really blame that on him. I blame it on the piss poor play calling, the defense playing like complete and utter shit. I think Tua Tagovailoa could put up another 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT performance here, and that's good enough to be start worthy on a week with so many bye weeks. So Tua Tagovailoa is a start up against the Atlanta Falcons. I almost kind of want to put him in must-start category because I believe he could go to absolute pound town up against that Falcons defense. For the Falcons, Matt Ryan is also a start because the Dolphins defense is just terrible. Now, at the end of the day, I think if Xavier Howard as well as Byron Jones end up playing in this game, then maybe they could shut down Matt Ryan, but that's just a hope because at this point, I'm just not too sure how good the Dolphins defense is. I would recommend them as a start this week defensively because I think Matt Ryan could throw some picks. Maybe they get a pick 6, some type of fumble action. But I also wouldn't be surprised on the other token if Matt Ryan ended up having an amazing game. So I like Matt Ryan in this matchup up against my Dolphins defense. Next up, we got the Cincinnati Bengals at the Baltimore Ravens. In this one, you're firing up Mr. Joey B, Mr. Throat Contusion himself. I'm in the pocket like Joe Burrow is a start in this one, as is Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, despite beating the ever-living shit out of the LA Chargers, hit him with the 1-2 fucking Mayweather. They beat the fuck out of them. But at the end of the day, Lamar Jackson was a snoozer in fantasy football. A snoozer. That was a guy that everyone was hinging on having a humongous big game. Humongous big game. And he doesn't have that. So, should you run away from Lamar? No. Play Lamar up against the Bengals. He should be able... The Bengals, I think my voice just cracked. Oh boy, Mickey Mouse. Oh, okay, sorry. So play Lamar. One down game shouldn't dictate you from pivoting away from Lamar. This should be a big matchup up against the Bengals. For the Bengals, I think they're going to have to crawl their way on back into this game. But Nick, the Chargers couldn't crawl back into the game last week. I understand, but I think the Bengals may be able to, and I don't think you want to be starting Joe Burrow with how solid he has looked thus far this season. Fire up Joey B up against the Baltimore Ravens. Next up, we got the Detroit Lions at the LA Rams for a double revenge game narrative. Matthew Stafford revenge up against the Lions. Jared Goff revenge up against the Rams. I think the Jared Goff revenge game narrative isn't going to work too well. I expect him to get absolutely clobbered by Mr. Aaron Donald in that game. I expect Jalen Ramsey to pick this man off. I expect Jared Goff to have a shitty game. But Matthew Stafford, I expect this man to be uncorking just all types of points. I'm talking maybe Matthew Stafford turns into fucking Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson and fucking runs the ball. He turns into Derrick Henry. He runs the ball. He stiff arms one of those Lions defenders and he says, you know what? I am the king of Detroit. I'm the king of LA. I love Matthew Stafford in this game. Revenge game narrative or not, he should butt fuck the Detroit Lions defense. Next up, we got the Eagles at the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday. Jalen Hurts, Derek Carr, their starts. But Nick, why are they starts if their receivers aren't starts? The reason why I don't trust any of these Eagles and Raiders wide receivers is because every single week it seems like it's a different guy. Like everyone's all in on Devontae Smith. me included, and then he has a bad game. And then when everyone is out on Devontae Smith, he has the big game. And then magically it's Quez Watkins week, it's Dallas Goedert week. There's just so many options there for Philadelphia, and a lot of the points for the Eagles, the funniest thing is in the first 3 quarters of this game, or at least the first half of this game, I guarantee you that Jalen Hurts has like 7 fantasy points, and you're like, fuck man, I lost my matchup. You close your eyes, and you come back like an hour later, and then magically at the end of the game, Jalen Hurts has 25 fantasy points, 27, 30 fantasy points, because that's what he does every single week. He's garbage time Jalen. He gets all those points at the end of the game, but it's great for fantasy football, so I love him up against the Raiders with that rushing upside. For Derek Carr, the Eagles defense has looked relatively solid up against the pass, but I still do believe that Derek Carr will be able to get it done. We saw Tampa Bay Tom Brady have a great game up against them last week, and it seems as though without John Gruden, we got a new version of the Raiders. So, looks like the Raiders are going to be looking pretty solid for the rest of the season, so I like Derek Carr in this game. Next up, we got the Houston Texans at the Arizona Cardinals. We'll keep this one short. We'll keep it quick. Short, get it? Kyler Murray, he's short. He's also quick. Kyler Murray up against the Texans. You just close your eyes, you put him in the game. This is a game, the one thing that worries me here for Kyler Murray is that they are just hammering Thor's hammer into the skull of the Houston Texans, and then they just pull Kyler, or maybe they're just not throwing. They just run the ball with James Conner, Chase Edmonds 7,000 times. But at the end of the day, if they were to get to that point in the game where they are just hammer-fisting down onto the Houston Texans defense, you would expect that Kyler Murray already put up a big spot in that for that to even happen, to where they're just running the ball a million times. So I expect Kyler Murray to be in a smash matchup. There's no real reason to go super in-depth. Any quarterback going up against the Texans, you're going to start them a majority of the time. Davis Mills for the Texans going up against the Arizona Cardinals defense. Yikes. This is a J.J. SWAT revenge game. Should see him all over Davis Mills. I don't expect Davis Mills to do anything in this spot. Next up, we got the Bears at the Buccaneers. The rematch from last year where 9-inch Nicholas Foles slayed the GOAT, Tom Brady. Tom Brady threw up the 4 like it was 4th down, but in reality, the game was already over, you silly goose. 4th down already happened. Bears at the Buccaneers, but who got the last laugh, right? Because Tampa Bay Tom won the Super Bowl. Tampa Bay Tom versus Justin Fields. Very fun narrative. The Bears going up against the Bucs. The Bucs defense has just sucked complete and utter cock this year compared to what we would think. Up against the pass, they've been getting bent over. But Matt Nagy, Bill Fire the Lasers, they just don't throw the ball enough, so I don't expect Justin Fields to do much. Tampa Bay Tom, he's a start in every single game. He is the perfect example of why you don't need the Konami quarterback in fantasy football. What is that, you may ask? It is where it's a cheat code to have a quarterback that runs the ball, and I agree. It is. Tom Brady runs the ball like once every game, and he's still one of the best quarterbacks in fantasy football, so he just breaks that code completely. I expect him to have a nice revenge game up against the Chicago Bears. Next game, we got the Colts at the San Francisco 49ers. This game, to me, just seems like an absolute snooze fest. The 49ers appear to be going back to Jimmy G, Jimmy Guap, Jimmy G-Spot, Jimmy Pornstar, Jimmy Garoppolo in this matchup up against the Colts defense. That's not fun at all. Sit Jimmy Garoppolo. Trey Lance will still be utilized inside of this matchup. Carson Wentz has looked decent the last couple of weeks, but in this matchup up against the 49ers defense, I cannot envision myself wanting to start him in this matchup. Plus, this game just bores me as a whole. I don't really know how points are going to be scored in this game. It's probably just going to be Jimmy Garoppolo throwing it to Debo, as well as Jonathan Taylor just pounding out the 49ers defense. This game just overall seems pretty low scoring in my mind, and I don't expect Carson Wentz or Jimmy Garoppolo to have all that great of a game, especially Jimmy Garoppolo. There's just no way to trust him, because out of nowhere they could be on the goal line and they just throw Trey Lance in, and he throws a dot of a touchdown, or he just runs the ball on in himself. So Jimmy Garoppolo is a sit, as is Carson Wentz. Definitely like Carson Wentz though a lot more than Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo is like a bottom of the barrel quarterback right now in fantasy football. And final game here, we got Monday Night Football between the New Orleans Saints at the Seattle Seahawks. In this one, I'm gonna be firing up Mr. Famous Jameis. Eat a W, steal a crab, Winston, up against the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks defense, the best in the nation. They're not the best in the nation. They suck. Now, I understand what that was in reference to, so I get it. But Jameis up against the Seattle Seahawks, there's risk. There's always risk starting Jameis Winston. It's going to get your heart pumping aggressively, but I believe that Jameis Winston might be doing some pumping the other way to the Seattle Seahawks defense, so I like him in this matchup. Geno Smith, Geno Snoozer, there's no way he does anything up against the New Orleans Saints. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did end up enjoying, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, make sure to leave a like on today's video as well. I love each and every single one of you guys so much. I hope you have a great rest of your guys' day, and hopefully we can hit 19,000 subscribers today. Very nice. I love you guys all. Have a great rest of your guys' day. As always, goodbye.